Hi, I'm Victoria, a licensed esthetician, and this is Chris, my business partner and husband. Welcome to your Besthetician podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to understand your analytics on Instagram. So that can be very confusing, and we're just going to go over what to look for and if your analytics look good or bad, how to change it. So
I think it's important to understand, I hope everyone is checking out their analytics every day. I think it's something that can inspire you, good or bad. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like stepping on the scale, right? I think it's good to check every single day to go, okay, where am I? Yeah. It's an accountability. So I think, one thing it's important to me to talk about with this podcast is, when Victoria says understanding them, it's bigger than just like, is it in the green or in the red? But it's actually understand who you're reaching and looking through deep and that's what we're going to talk about.
Not how many people you reach, but who you're reaching.
Exactly, which is super, super important. I think that people, they want to look over because if a post goes viral, then they go, my Instagram's doing well. Yeah. So we're gonna go through the nitty gritty of our Instagram today, something that we've never shared before. Yeah. So stay tuned to hear really the full back end of the Skin by You analytics that we're gonna fully open up. There's nothing that we're gonna hide. Yeah. So we'll jump into the locations, the types of people, everything we got, and the things that you should be looking to in your analytics. Yeah. So like as anybody would, we're gonna jump into the back end of our Instagram analytics, and Victoria is gonna be kind of checking things with me. I'll kind of read through what we've done so you can see exactly what we've done in the past 30 days, which I think is interesting information. And then the things that I think you specifically should be looking at. Mm-hmm. So we'll start off in the back end we'll look at our accounts reached. So as of in the past 30 days, we've reached 266,000 accounts, which is absolutely amazing. We're in the green right now because we've been in the new year. Something that's been important for Victoria and I is to post more, be more active on Instagram.
And be more intentional.
Yeah, we got to the end of the last year and we kind of feel like we wanted to give up. I think the reach was down a lot. Maybe it was the time of the year. Maybe our post just sucked.
Yeah, it's crazy when you actually put your mind to doing being intentional about your posts and putting effort into it. What a difference it makes. Because we were so drained and we were just post whatever. We have to post, put it up.
And they would flop. And then we'd go, why doesn't this work? Instagram's annoying.
But when you're inspired and you start getting inspiration again and you put intention into your videos and your posts, it makes a huge difference. So
Jinx, that was good. Okay, so the followers to non-followers, I don't think is that important. Nothing, and don't quote me, I'm no genius on Instagram, but I don't think that's something that you should really get held up on. When the number is lower, you should. So we have 12,000 followers. This is as far as reach goes to 253,000 non-followers. And that's pretty normal when you get posts with really good reach.
Floppers.
Yeah, that you're gonna reach a lot of different and new people. I'd like our followers to be up higher. It's not perfect to me. It is kind of crazy to have 30,000 followers, so it's almost like we're only reaching about half of them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it kind of is what it is.
A lot of content creators can relate to that though, because you have, let's say you have 30,000 followers, and you have a viral post and you get 30,000 followers, and clearly I'm sure this is very common.
You're getting more other people
because
than
you start
your
to see
own
new
that
videos.
are seeing it. Yep.
And it's not matching up with the numbers.
Yep, and I think Instagram is also interesting. It's kind of turned into a TikTok where people are they're viewing your content, and that if you view somebody's content, you're going to see it again. So why follow them? Right. Yeah. So then,
and you see suggested. Instagram is kind of weird now.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird space. Yeah. So as far as impressions goes, we're at 550,000 impressions. If you didn't know your impressions to your reach, this is something that I think most people don't know, and I don't know if it super matters, but it's fun to see. So we almost have double the amount of impressions than we do reach. So reach is individual new people. So we've reached 266,000 individual people. Those are all different people. When it comes to your impressions on the back end of your analytics, it counts for a person seeing your content multiple times. So, you can, if it's me to your content, right? If I see your content on my feed and then I see your content in my story, that's 2 impressions. It's only 1 reach. Because I'm still one person, but I saw it twice, right? So that's just, it's a little fun fact so you know. As far as our content type, we're almost even right now. So we're at 155,000 reach from Reels and 146,000 reach from posts. So we've had a couple really good before and afters that have really taken off, which is good for us to know. It's something that you should be looking at. What types of your content is working really, really well, which is why tomorrow...
To study your own content, not other people's
Tomorrow
content.
we should be posting a before and after to make sure we can keep that going, right?
Yeah.
But it's important for us to see. So right now it's both even. Normally our Reels blow our posts out of the water, right?
Yeah.
We usually get tons and tons of reach on the
I don't
Reels.
know what's up with Instagram's Explore page lately, but...
Yeah, it's been doing really, really well for regular posts. And then our stories are very, very sad, have reached 5,700
Okay, I am
people.
awful with stories.
Yeah.
I will admit, like, that's my weakness of Instagram.
Yeah, definitely a weak suit. Something we try to work on, but it's something that takes a ton of intentionality. And
and I feel like stories, like, for everyone get less reach. So it's something that's like you're putting all this energy into like stories that like you don't know. I mean, for me at least.
Yeah, and I agree. And it's for us, it's probably what takes the most amount of work. It's less natural for you to get on and talk all day because of the family and the kids. And then when you're working, it's the most amount of work compared to us at 10 o'clock at night making a bunch of videos to post for the week.
100%.
Right? Okay, so our top content this month, the top few pieces of content was a before and after from December 11th, which was very early, so we're talking about a month ago now. And then a couple reels, and then a graphic, right? So I'll just look at the top 5. There's no reason to dive way into them, but those are things we're looking at the top 5 pieces of content. On Instagram, just so everyone knows, there is a button on the top left when you're looking at your reach that says last 30 days. If you click that, you can look at the last 90 days. So if you feel like, okay, this 30 days is a little bit different, it's been bad or it's been really good, look at your 90 days and then go and look at those best pieces of content of what's performing best. So you go, let's make more things like that. And this is something that we look at very often, and especially when our Instagram gets in a rut, we go, let's look at the past 90 days to get some inspiration.
Yeah, how can we even like repurpose our old content?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. What can we try again? So we're talking about reached audience. This is the kind of the biggest secret nobody talks about on Instagram, is because it can be embarrassing for people in any direction. So we've got our top cities. If you look at our top countries, the number one country is United States by 50%. So very, very far in advance. Then we get into Iran, then the UK, then Canada, which is super interesting. And Iran has since really we started the business, Iran's always been number 2. Yeah. Iran
and I think it's
India. Skin by Victoria. The old Instagram we had was the same way. So if we go into look at our top cities, Tehran, which is, I'm assuming, in Iran, I haven't really Googled it, I'm sure it is our number 1 city, which is, and there's nothing that we do to change that. We don't run ads. We don't push content that way. Yeah. What I've realized in the space and looking through hashtags and us being in the space for a while is that India and, that direction and those countries the skincare industry is huge. There's also a ton of people out there. So I think that you'd be surprised how many other influencers and estheticians have a huge portion of their audience in Iran or in India. Yeah. So from there we go to New York. Then we go back to Mashhad, which Mashhad maybe that's 1%, but that's also I'm sure out in Iran, and then to Los Angeles. So we tend to, and then
maybe
those
Justin
tend
Bieber
to
has seen my posts.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So those
or
cities.
Hailey Bieber.
Yeah, I sure hope so,
she has
Victoria.
A skincare.
I sure hope she's seen our content.
I'm just kidding.
But I think those cities probably change a lot. I've seen those cities change a lot. Yeah. So, Tehran has been on there forever, and we do have a huge audience from Iran that tends to comment, they engage, sometimes in English, sometimes not in English. Yeah. They're always being supportive. We get plenty of DMs.
Ever.
Tons of DMs from them. They're very, very curious about aesthetics here in the U.S., which is just cool, and they're supportive. Yeah. But it is something interesting to know that we have a large audience that's not in the U.S., so they won't be buying product and they won't be coming in for services.
Which is like interesting. Like I wonder if this is like an esthetician thing, or like I'm so curious to like know what. Like other influencers, if this is theirs too.
Because it's so hidden, right? No one's posting what their reached audience is. And I think that's why we're opening up about this. So then when you get down to the bottom, you have your profile activity. It's definitely interesting to look at how many profile visits, how many external link taps, how many business address taps. I think that it'll have your call button taps on there as well. Those are good numbers to look at if they're plus or minus. I'm sure there might be a fancy statistic of how many people have come to your page to click the external link. That might make sense, but for me, I never focus too much on those. I always take a look because it's interesting, but never get hung up on it.
Yeah.
So from there, we're gonna look at accounts engaged. This is probably the most boring for the most part. Besides, and of course, you can have content that's very engaged with, so lots of likes and comments. That's interesting to see, but you can always just see that by clicking a post, how many comments are on it. But one of my favorite portions of your engaged analytics is your stories. So, and that's something I look back with Victoria a lot because we struggle with stories of, okay, what stories that Victoria posted got the most interactions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I'd hope you know that the more interactions on a story, the more Instagram pushes that story out. So the more reach you're going to get on that story. So you need interactions there. You need them everywhere, but story is one of the biggest places.
Yeah.
So this is something that we go back often. And if you go all the way down to the bottom to the engagement, you can see which stories of yours were engaged with the most. So now me and Victoria can look over those. We look at usually the last 90 days and go, okay, this is Victoria, let's make another story like this.
Yeah.
People engaged with it. Victoria, when you said this in a story, people engaged with it. Right. So that's something that we look at a lot as well. And then as far as
it's like a report card.
Yeah, that it's essentially a report card. So that's your engagement. There's plenty of things you can look there with your posts and see what posts were engaged most because it is important. Same thing with Reels. But for us personally, in our experience, what we like looking at most in that section is the stories. Anything to add there? No? I just want to make sure. I'm talking really fast, so if anybody, put this in slow motion. And the last section that we'll talk about will be the followers. So this is a very fun, interesting, we just actually got the update here for January 3rd, which was yesterday. Instagram has been much faster of updating your total followers a day. So yesterday, our overall followers, we gained 100 followers, which is absolutely amazing. So this graph is super awesome to look at as well. It can be a little bit sad sometimes.
I hate looking at it. Yeah. I'm like, how many people unfollowed me?
Yeah, looking at how many people unfollow is very interesting. But it's also just good to see if you can, what I like to do is I look at this graph and I like to look at a day. So if we looked at December 12th, we gained 50 overall followers, which was a good day before we had that huge peak yesterday, and go and look and see what we posted. Right?
Yeah.
What did we post on December 12th? What were your stories on December? Why did we get more followers that day? What did we do that day that was different than others? So that's a really fun number to look at. Your locations for your followers is also very important, especially if you're a local business like us. So back to our top city is going to be Tehran again. So we get a ton of followers from there. It's been that way for a long time. That's in Iran. Nothing we can do about it. And then from there, which is a little bit different now, but we have Gilbert, which is a city out here, Phoenix, which is our main city. We have New York, which is interesting, then Mesa, which is another city out here. For a little while, all four of the next cities were all local, but it looks like New York has come after one of those spots, it's cool, but it makes me really excited to see that most of our followers' locations are local. Yeah. Right. That's a very, very positive number for us to look at is to go, we're getting reach around the world, but at least most of our followers are coming from here. If they're coming from here, it means they are potential customers.
Definitely.
Right? From there, you get into your age range, which is a really interesting number to look at. Ours isn't exactly what our ideal clientele is, but it is in the older demographic. So our main is 25 to 34. Our second is 35 to 44. And those are our ideal clients, right? So you definitely want those higher numbers when it comes to how old the people are that are following you. And the last thing here that we're going to look at is the gender and the most active times. So our gender is 93% women to 6% men, which is amazing for a business that sells, sells to women. Maybe I sound a little jealous of there better no men be following you ever. But this is important. If your clientele is women, you don't want to have this number really anything
I would not want
more.
my numbers to be 50% men, because that just shows it's not who you're trying to attract.
Yep.
You
And
know,
that's
like I don't
important.
want men following me. I want women who are into skincare, and like, of course, like, if you're a man that's into skincare, that's
and
great.
that's where you can make up
But
that
like,
6%.
I'm trying to say,
right?
I don't want like a creep. I don't want creepy dudes.
And you don't want guys just watching. So this is an interesting number where if you look at your clientele and go, how many women or how many men am I treating? If you're only treating, and I think I'd probably say you probably treat less than 5% men. I'd probably say it's more like
and it's like
1%.
husbands.
Yeah, it's like a
I've
1
had,
or 2%. Yeah.
One creepy dude.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that story later.
And I was pregnant.
Yeah, but I think that number in person is low, so it should reflect on Instagram.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry.
And no,
I'm
it's
like
okay.
really off topic.
No, but we could talk about that story another time. But that is important for you as a business owner. If your numbers are 50% men, not to be mean, but you probably should look at the content that you're posting.
What kind of content are you making?
Yeah, if your content is catering towards men,
are we like OnlyFans?
They're probably not men that are just into skincare, right? You might be, you might have to relook and go, okay, maybe I'm showing a little bit too much of my personal life that make men watch my business page.
Yeah.
Right? So I won't go too much into there. I'll let you just think about that. But just know, to me, especially when it comes to working with brands as well,
yes.
I mean, when we do brand deals, this is a number that they look at. So they don't want to see a high number of men.
Yeah.
Because if they go and reach out to an influencer who's a woman who maybe has an OnlyFans and they're trying to sell skincare product and she has 70% men, why would they want to do a brand deal with her?
If you're looking for like your Instagram long term to be brand deals, especially like so that you can have extra income besides the treatment room, I think that's something super important to consider because like they'll look for that. Like if you have 50% men, that's going to be a problem for brand deals. Yeah.
And we've seen it before. We've seen brands specifically say we need less than 15% of your followers being men, right? And so I think, and we haven't really done anything specifically to deter that.
Yeah.
We just make content that your clientele and your audience enjoys, and that is women. Mm-hmm. So the last thing here that I'll talk on is your most active times, which is your hours and your days. The days, they just seem almost flat out across the board. Even though for us Sundays, I mean, it says it's lower, but Sundays always feel like a super flop. But I feel like I
post at the same time every single day.
This is the just general days though. So when you look at the hours of the day, this is where we're talking about. Okay. This is what the most important is. You need to look at your most active times. Don't post when it's convenient for you. Don't post when you just want to post. We post at 9 a.m. specifically because Instagram told us your active followers are most active and engaging at 9 o'clock in the morning your time. We did not post at 9 o'clock in the morning before. We were evening posters. We thought the perfect time was about 5 p.m. And that's what we did for a really long time until I watched these analytics for so long. And one day I'm like, Victoria, what if we just try to post earlier? Then we did it one time and we were like, hey, we got a lot of reach off this. Okay, maybe just a post. Like, 9 a.m. I'm like, stop at 9 a.m.
No, I'm saying like I have to get ready in the morning. We have kids. Like I'm like, why the morning? Like why can't it be when you're like in bed? Like
I wish it was at 8 p.m. post, right? But we've really.
Are you sure you read that right? Does it say 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. Yes.
Does it say 9 p.m.?
Maybe it says nap
Guess
time.
I have to post at 9 p.m.
But I think this is a number that was hard for me even to like cope with because like my brain went, no, 5 p.m. people are off work, they're on their way home, they're on Instagram, that's most active.
Numbers don't lie.
And everybody's content is different too, right? So it depends on where your audience is, where you are in the US is huge.
Whoa.
What would you just click?
You can see that?
Oh, how many? Oh, that's new. I didn't see that before. It gives us a number. So 10,600, which I don't know what that number means, of what 10.6K means on 9 a.m. Oh, there's the baby.
Be right back. Sorry about that. Anyways.
The way you said that. Oops, sorry about that. The baby was crying. We'll jump right back in. We'll wrap this up. So anyways, looking at those hours is the most important. The days, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't argue about it. Maybe we should be posting on Sundays. We normally don't post the weekends in general, but our analytics say that our followers are still active the weekends almost just as much as they are on the weekdays.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you want to learn more, if you want to grow your Instagram like if you don't care about these numbers, that's fine. But if you want to grow your Instagram, look at your analytics, look at what did well, what didn't do well, and just focus on the times, the posts, and what works best for your audience. So I think we went over all of our analytics, but if you guys have any specific questions, we would love to hear them.
We can dive more into specific
But it was
things.
really fun to just kind of go into detail about that. But thank you so much for tuning in and being patient with our baby. Sorry for the interruption, but we'll see you next time.